Do you think the election was stolen?
Honesty in politics. I'd like to see some of that for a change.
And you think Trump is the person to restore honesty to politics?
I'm hoping.
Yeah.
I'm hoping. I'm here today to hear him.
It's the 3rd anniversary of January 6th. What do you think of that?
I got a lot of mixed emotions on that. It shouldn't have happened. That we have no right to storm the Capitol. But I understand how they got in a frenzy, thinking that they were wronged, and I can't prove it one way or another. Some things weren't right, but it wasn't a whole. Everything wasn't wrong.
Yeah. In this video, I talked to some Trump supporters that are relatively rational. And I know the words Trump supporters and rational don't belong in the same sentence, but you guys have to watch and see what I mean. Out of the 74 million people who voted for Donald Trump, there are tens of millions of people who just casually pay attention to politics and don't really understand what they're voting for. So instead of shutting these people down and not talking to them, I think it's important that we open up conversation and try to inch them towards our more liberal position. And that's what I do in this video. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, make sure to comment a blue heart, and let's play these clips. I want to ask you, what do you think the people were there to do on January 6th? What do you think their goal was?
I think they're really to stand up and say that the election was somewhat rigged. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm hoping that it wasn't. Yeah. Because it's the United States. I thought we'd have free and true elections. Yeah. So. But storming the Capitol, that's not one of them. I don't think Trump was to blame for that at all.
So how I view it is, on January 6th, the people in Congress were certifying the results of the 2020 election, right? They were trying to make sure, Mike Pence was trying to certify the results. And when the crowd was trying to burst in, it almost seemed like they were trying to stop that certification from happening, right?
And they didn't have the right to do that.
Yeah, which that's almost like undermining the election.
Mr. Pence done a good job standing his ground. That would be a hard call, and the president's asking you to change it, and he doesn't have the right to do that.
No, but Pence chose the Constitution over Trump.
And I'm glad he did. Yep. I'm glad he did.
Also, how I view election fraud is, I wasn't really convinced by the arguments, because at first I was like, okay, let's let them have their day in court. And then they had 60 different court cases, and all of those got rejected. And then Trump hired this firm called Cyber Ninjas to do an independent check. That firm came back saying there's no election fraud, so he fired them and said that they're rigged or whatever. So when we saw this pattern arise where every single time we brought evidence, it got shot down, it started to scare me. And then when that came to an apex at the Capitol of people raiding, that kind of scared me as well.
Me too.
So
me too.
I'm glad that we were able to find middle ground and agree on that.
I agree wholeheartedly. Should have never happened. And election fraud. If you're going to have a lot of people doing something, there's always going to be some corruption that enters in. Yeah. And we got to just do the best we can to stop that. But
as you'll notice in that clip, I like to cushion a lot of my language when I'm talking to somebody who's on the fence, because if I came at them hard saying, no, you're dumb if you think there's election fraud, they would just shut down and stop listening. But by saying something like, it kind of scares me when you see this repeated pattern of evidence being brought in and evidence being shot down, then you're sort of able to meet them where they are and step into their frame of reference so they understand why it scares you. In this next clip, I talked to some dude about gender affirming care. I talked to him about Ukraine, and I try to get him to understand the importance of both.
Indoctrinating our children, tell them it's okay to change their gender without telling their parents. And
do you know what gender affirming care is?
Yes.
Are you okay with American adults getting gender affirming care?
Adults, sure.
Would you be okay with a 17-year-old getting gender-affirming care if they went to therapy for 4 years beforehand? A psychiatrist, a doctor, and their family all said, to improve this person's quality of life, gender-affirming care is the way?
Yeah, that would make a lot more sense than what they're doing now.
That's most of the time. See, people have this idea that kids are going and getting surgeries or whatever on their own, but most of the
parents' back.
I wouldn't agree with that either. Most of the time what happens is you need a consensus from psychiatrists, from doctors, after years of therapy. I think that's how it should be done, to go through the right way.
Absolutely.
Cool, so we can agree on that. Awesome.
Yes, sir.
What do you think about America's funding of Ukraine?
I think that it's not a bad thing to help them, but I think we need to know where the money's going and hold them accountable, because, they haven't been the most upfront government.
Yeah, they're still trying to get away from the corruption that Russia planted in their system, but a lot of people think we're sending straight cash bags of money to Ukraine, but what's actually happening is we're sending old military equipment that's like are about to expire.
Depleting ours, though.
No, but in the process, we get to restock and repile that and create new American manufacturing jobs, which could boost the economy in a sense.
Yeah, I just think that we need to make sure that it's getting into the right hands.
Absolutely. So you'd be okay with, we can agree that Vladimir Putin is not a good guy?
Oh, absolutely.
So some people won't even admit that. They're like, oh, he's fine, blah, blah, blah. So the goal is to stop Vladimir Putin in his tracks when he tries to...
Absolutely.
Cool. And America, as one of the strongest countries in the world, we should probably be leading that charge.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Thank you. Also, one final question. What we found is that if you go on Twitter, everybody hates each other and they think they're the enemy.
Yeah.
But when you and I talk, we kind of disagree. We have a good conversation.
Yeah, you need to have an educated conversation. I mean, there's two sides to every story. Everyone's not going to think the same. You know what I'm saying? That's where the country is screwed up, I think. It's not black and white all the time. We could have an educated conversation and come to an agreement, you know, some kind of middle ground.
That's my whole thing. And that's the beautiful thing about democracy. In some other countries like Russia, you and I might not be able to have this conversation.
Oh, no. We'll be locked up.
When it comes to abortion, are you in favor of protecting Roe v. Wade, or do you think it should be shot down among all states? Just to clarify.
It's more so of it should be a tragedy when it occurs, but if we have to go all in and it's last resort, I understand, but we should not just do it willy-nilly, you know?
The catchphrase was always, it should be safe, legal, but rare. So the goal is to teach sex ed at a young age and have people know that you can use protection in other ways and prevent abortions like from the fundamental level before it even has to happen. And then if someone does need it, we want them to be able to do it in a safe way where they don't have to hurt themselves, right?
Yeah, I agree. And I think if we found a solution like that, I feel like we would reel back and, you know, we would slowly start to uplift women again. They wouldn't be used so much. I really think everyone would honestly benefit.
Regarding healthcare, what are your goals with healthcare?
Universal coverage. Now, of course, I mean, that's the goal of everybody, but it's how you get there. That's the debate. You know, some people want a government-mandated system or to expand the system we have. I mean, I'm not really sure, but I mean, it is a good goal.
Absolutely. It's a great goal because America is one of the richest, best countries in the world, and the fact that we have citizens struggling that can't get healthcare is kind of embarrassing, right? Yeah. Our citizens should have the best healthcare out of any country because we're one of the best countries. And yeah, but do you ever think that universal healthcare is, and this is in a good way, more of a Democrat idea? Because it feels like the Democrats champion that idea. Trump's goal was to shoot down the Affordable Care Act. He tried multiple times, and John McCain, if you remember, did the thumbs down and saved the Affordable Care Act because John McCain believed healthcare was important.
Yeah. And it's interesting because the Affordable Care Act was originally Newt Gingrich's proposal back in the 90s. And you know, that was the GOP plan back in the day, but then whenever it was passed by the Democrats, it just became a more partisan issue. You know, what was it called? Individual mandate system.
Yeah, I think Mitt Romney also had a big role in his state. He enacted it on a state level, and then Obama kind of stole it and did it on a federal level, which is great. And I think we should be protecting those people. I know people that wouldn't have health insurance without, it's anecdotal, but they wouldn't have health insurance without Obamacare. So now you can tell with these dudes that they were my age and they were conservative leaning, but they told me they hadn't really made up their mind on Trump yet. So what I try to do is step into their frame of reference, the frame of reference of a conservative, by repeatedly saying, listen, America is one of the best, one of the richest countries in the world, and it's almost embarrassing that we can't provide our citizens the healthcare that they need. By meeting at that middle area that America is one of the best and richest countries in the world, they can then follow my argument from there and see why I think healthcare is important. And they agreed. They also thought healthcare was incredibly important. These are just some of the strategies I use. They're pretty obvious, but I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you made it this far, comment a blue heart, leave a like, and most importantly, have a great day.